Hey y'all, it's Kara. I just had the best idea. Well, it's kind of a lie already. I just got the best idea from Gabby Reads' channel of all the books that have made me cry recently. And I thought, you know what? Let me make this video. You know, I've already had a little bit of wine tonight and I was having a great time until I got sad, okay? So I was thinking, you know what? I'm in the perfect mood to make this video all about all the books that have made me cry this year or like in years past. If a book is on this list that made me tear up in years past, it's because I was full on sobbing, okay? I didn't want to make a video about like, oh, books that made me cry and not include some of these books that I read like a few years ago, okay? You'll see what I mean once I get started. I feel like this is already a little too much. That's okay. Let's get it out of the way, okay? A Little Life. Literally, what are you doing if you've not read this? If you are subscribed to my channel, first of all, thank you, that's really cool. Second of all, can you please read this? A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara is not only my favorite book of all time, this book changed my life. This book was such a strange reading experience for me because it took me a few years to read it. You heard that correctly. I started this book, let me say around 2014, 2015, and I did not finish it until May of 2018, like when I was graduating college. So when I say this is a heavy book, I think I'm pretty tough, and I think I'm pretty tough to move. I should have started the intro with that of like, this video was a big deal for me because I just straight up don't cry in books. When I tell you that I was sobbing and I had a book and reading hangover for like a year after I finished this book, oh my gosh, like don't read this if you're not in the right mindset, because also, oh my gosh, why is this so chaotic already? I have a trigger warning and content warning database linked in my description. I've had that in all of my videos here recently, just because I read a lot of books that have very sensitive topics. I never want to miss anything, so I think that it's really cool. This database I have linked in my description is something where you can go, you can type in the book that you're interested in reading, and it'll tell you all of the content and trigger warnings if you're interested in seeing that. Personally, I'm very lucky and very thankful to not be sensitive to any content at all. So I am able to just go into a book blind and like able to read, but I have that resource in the description if you are interested in reading it. Do not read this book if you are sensitive to anything, okay? I am not putting it down before I explain what it's about. This book is all about male friendship and identity, okay? I know everyone is like, oh, this is all about torture and trauma and sadness, and yes, it is about that, but at the forefront of this book is friendship. This book is about 4 men who meet in college and then their relationship with one another throughout their entire lives. And yes, we do backtrack into their childhoods, but it's only to better understand them as adults as they're living their lives. Oh my gosh, not me crying. What am I doing? Should I reread this? No. I am 1000% one of those people like, I am not gonna cry in this book, and I didn't until the last bit. This book is touchy the entire way through, but when I tell you, the last like few pages, they got me. The last bit really got me. Okay, I'm putting it down, Also, these are in no particular order. That's because zero planning went into this video. Next we have I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This book made me cry, not for the reasons you're probably thinking. Of course, this is another book that has very sensitive content, very sensitive subject matter. Obviously, it's about the Golden State Killer and his victims, which is really depressing. It's a very serious topic. I don't take it lightly, but I am someone who consumes a ton of true crime podcasts, and I've followed true crime cases since I was in middle school. It's been my thing for a while. But the thing that made me really upset about I'll Be Gone in the Dark isn't necessarily the cases, even though they did upset me. It's the fact that Michelle McNamara, oh my gosh, why am I tearing up again? I'm so sensitive. Michelle McNamara passed away, before she was able to finish this book, and she really dedicated a lot of her professional career to the journalism of the case of the Golden State Killer. She even was really the person who coined the term the Golden State Killer, like when he was just referred to as the original Night Stalker or the East Area Rapist. She was the person who said he's the Golden State Killer. And for her to have passed away a year before he was identified, oh God, it just makes me feel sick. This is another one if you like true crime podcasts. This is a really good story, and it's really wonderful journalism, but also be prepared to be heartbroken by Michelle's story. Okay, I feel better now. Let's move on to The Nightingale by Chris and Hannah. This is about how two sisters cope with World War II Nazi-occupied France. I don't think I talk about it much on this channel, but I really love historical fiction. And I feel like if something is gonna get me to tear up, it probably is something relating to World War II, or at least historical fiction. And this book is no exception. Kristen Hanna is such a wonderful author. I've been trying to make my way through The Great Alone by her for some time now. It's really been since January of 2020, and she is so talented, you guys. If you love just beautifully written prose, you need to check out Kristen Hanna. I really didn't think The Nightingale was gonna get to me though, because yes, the war descriptions and just like the depressive prose in this book, it was all very sad, but I am an only child, so I've never had that sister relationship with somebody. But this book got to me. It did make me tear up. It made me cry a little bit at the end. And it's actually a pretty long book that I got through very quickly. So if you're somebody who doesn't think historical fiction is for you, I really highly recommend The Nightingale as a starting point, especially if you're interested in like history classes in high school, anything about World War II. This book is really fast paced. And if you're looking for a good cry, this is it. My gosh, let's do one of my favorites, Anna Karenina. I talked about this book in a video recently. I don't remember which video it was. Maybe books I wish I could read again for the very first time. I'll link that in the description. This book is so complicated. It's a classic, obviously, but it's a very accessible classic. If you're somebody who's looking to read more classics, I very highly recommend Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and I really recommend the Constance Garnett translation. This book was originally written in Russian, and this English translation is it. If you like short chapters, y'all, each chapter is like a page or two long. It is so easy to read. Also, I have an ex-boyfriend who got me this copy, which, hello? Boys, if you're watching, this is what we want. I know I've explained this book like 50 million times on my channel, but you know what? Let's go ahead and hit it again. This book is about Anna, who was in an arranged marriage with a really high up Russian official who was older than she was. She married him, she had his kid, and now a new love interest has entered the scene. She's totally infatuated with Count Vronsky. That is storyline 1, okay? Storyline 2 is all about my favorite literary character of all time, Konstantin Levin. Hello. He has this whole unrequited love thing going on, not with Anna, but with another side character. And it is his character development that really kept me going in this story. This book's ending gutted me in high school. I read this twice in high school when my attention span was the size of like a pea. So if I could do it then, you can do it now. Please read Anna Karenina, you guys, okay? Thanks. Okay, wait, I have the receipts for Beartown because this was the first book I read in 2020. Let me just show you guys kind of how that went. I don't want to talk that much about it here because I know for a fact this is going to be really specially featured in a video I have coming out later this month. So please just know, Beartown destroyed me. I was dead after I finished it. Thanks. This one was weird. The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. I did not see this coming. This was like, I want to call it like a contemporary romance, but it was very much like, I hate the phrase chick lit, but I'm sorry, I don't know how else to explain it. It's very much like women's literature. This is a love story between Lucy and Gabe and how they come in and out of each other's lives over the course of many years. That story alone already could get me on the verge of tears, but then something happens at the end of the book. I was sobbing and I was not expecting it. I think I gave this book 4 stars overall. It's not an all-time favorite by any means, and yet here I was crying uncontrollably at work, of all places. So if you're looking for a tearjerker, I just don't see that many people talking about this book. But The Light We Lost is really sad if you want to just make yourself feel sad. You guys are real ones for sticking with me for this video. I feel like I'm being really weird right now. Oh well. Okay, Into the Wild. I've also talked about this book a lot on my channel. This is another all-time favorite for me. This one is nonfiction about this man who goes off into the Alaskan wilderness to try to make it on his own. It's very, very sad, especially since it is a true story. The thing that makes this book really sad to me is that Chris McCandless had a heart of gold. Oh no, I'm crying. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about it. We have to get a move on with these recs. I'm way too far deep in my feels. I've got 2 more World War II recs. I've got the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Yes, this is on the lighter side of World War II recommendations. It made me tear up, but it made me tear up nonetheless. And also The Book Thief. Yes, I read The Book Thief for the first time in 2020, and I highly recommend it to anyone else who has had this on their TBR for far too long and thinks like, oh man, I think I missed the time window of when I should have read that book. No, you need to pick this up and read it ASAP. You probably already know what this book is about, but in case you don't, it's about this girl whose adoptive-ish family is hiding this Jewish person in their basement. They have to keep it a secret. And it's really like a coming-of-age story of Liesel, but also this fear of them finding the person in their basement. Oh my gosh, it is so good. I cried so hard at the end. I love it. I wish I could read this book again for the very first time. Next is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. And yes, this book was really emotional for me, but it was especially emotional when I found out that Alice Sebold is actually a victim of sexual assault and that this book was a really close to home writing experience. This book starts with the murder of a young girl, and then the entire book is about how her family moves on after her death. And I think that that says enough of why it made me really upset. But I was actually listening to some of the audiobook while I was reading this, and it was narrated by Sebold herself. And then at the end of the book, when she explained that like some of these feelings were actually based on her own feelings as a survivor, oh my gosh, I can't recommend it highly enough. So sad, but so good. Next is a book I don't think I have ever mentioned on my channel because I didn't particularly like it, but that did not stop it from making me cry. It's Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. My mom highly recommended this book to me, which I did. I guess I enjoyed it, but it was just not my typical thing. This is historical fiction about these children who are kidnapped and then put in this orphanage, and the things that they go through is really depressing, you guys. It takes place in the American South, and it's all about these siblings trying to stick together through adversity. Oh, it is really sad. And even though I'm saying like, yes, it did make me tear up, it made me cry, it was not by any means one of my favorite books of 2020. I gave it like a 3.5, 4-ish star, which makes it sound like a pretty high rating for me. But it's because I thought the writing was really beautiful. This is based on a true story. And I always feel like if something is nonfiction, then my average rating might be skewed a bit towards 5 stars just because it feels weird for me to judge something that is based on a true story. I just don't think I enjoyed a single page of this book, but I feel like it's a really important story, so I had to put it in this video. All right, we're getting to the very end. Where the Crawdads Sing is another one that I don't talk that much about just because I feel like everyone and their mother has been talking about this book for years, but I am obsessed with Where the Crawdads Sing. It was so good. Of course I cried at the last chapter. If you've read it, then you know, and if you've not read it, then you need to read this book, Where Have You Been? I'm not even gonna explain what it's about, other than that it's this mix between historical fiction and a fun whodunit thriller mystery. that the timelines go back and forth until both of the timelines meet up in the present. There has been a murder, and of course this weird Marsh girl is at the center of the investigation. So they're going back and forth between her childhood and her adolescence and the ongoing murder trial. Oh, please read Where the Crawdads Sing. It is so good. I'm emotional. I've taken down like 55 notches for Know My Name by Chanel Miller, because this is maybe the most important piece of literature I've ever read. It's definitely the best thing that I read in 2020. I'm going to be talking about this in my end of the year video. I will not be ranking it because this book transcends rankings. It transcends star ratings. This is the best book I've ever read in my entire life. This book is by Chanel Miller, and Chanel was sexually assaulted by Brock Turner, the Stanford swimmer. And now I feel like I'm gonna throw up because this book really did that for me. I bought this book earlier this year. I read this book with my eyes and then purchased this on audiobook to hear Chanel tell it in her own words. Chanel is such a talented artist and writer. She was an English major in college, and this book is absolutely beautiful. This is one of the only books I have annotated on my shelves. And you know what? Let's go ahead and read some quotes from the book. So I tabbed every time in the book that I actually teared up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was the first thing that got me, and this is one of the most memorable lines from a book that I've read maybe ever, because it shows so much of Chanel's empathy and also just heartbreak. Okay, trigger warning for murder. Okay, all right, I'm gonna read now. At 3 in the morning, we stared at the news on TV, heard mass murder. The word 7 displayed in tall white letters at the bottom of the screen. It seemed wrong to group the dead. It was not 7. It was 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. Each an entire life, each with a name. I've never read anything this powerful. This woman's mind. I'm obsessed with Chanel. Please, please, please. I know I've said it in this video, but if you don't read any book from this list, please read Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Please read Chanel Miller's book. Please know her story. Please know her story and know that it's one of the best books that I've ever read. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little different. Maybe it was a little cozier. Maybe it was weirder than you were expecting, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with me, you know, listening to me talk about some books that made me emotional. I'll leave Gabby's link in the description of this video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.